Welcome back to another video, guys. Today we're just going to go over how to set up your Cloudflare DNS piece. So we're going to set up an account within Cloudflare. Then we're going to set up our DNS for our content security rules and how we can configure those. And then we'll move over to how you can then redirect either your router or your firewall to your Cloudflare DNS and start actually resolving your external DNS request with Cloudflare using the protections in place that you set up. So let's just jump over to the main computer and let's get started. Okay, once you're on your browser, just go ahead and navigate to dash.cloudflare.com. And you're going to obviously sign up. This is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to sign up with your super awesome email.coolmail.com with a cool password, special characters, and a number. I'm going to verify I'm a user and I'm going to sign up. You can also continue with Google and Apple and things of that nature. Once you have your account created within Cloudflare, this is going to be your main dashboard screen when you log into dash.cloudflare.com. So really we want to go over to Zero Trust, or if you want to go straight to Cloudflare's Zero Trust, where it hosts DNS as well as the Secure Web Gateway and CASB and DLP and all those things for Zero Trust. You can also just type in one.dash.cloudflare.com and you'll go straight to the Zero Trust setup. So if we navigate over here, it'll say, okay, now you have to create your team name. So you can just give it a unique name. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to use my domain that I actually have. So I'm just going to use techternative.cloudflareaccess.com. Again, you can change this later. It doesn't really matter, but it has to be unique. So you can click on next. There is a bunch of options. Only have to really select the free plan here. So, $0 a month is what we love to see. All right. So you get 50 seats, Zero Trust Control, DNS, Layer 7, Warp. I mean, you get a bunch of stuff. The only thing that sucks is only up to 24 hours of log retention. So if you do have some issues with, if you want to check logs longer than a day ago just to see like what's going on holistically, that kind of sucks, but it doesn't really matter, right? It's free. Click on that. I guess we have to add a payment. So I'm going to use PayPal. So do whatever feels comfortable. You're not going to get charged. They just need a payment method on record. So go ahead and fill out your payment stuff. Okay, yeah. So once you do have your payment in place, again, if that deters you, then that's okay. I understand. But you don't get charged. I've been running this for almost a year, I think, at this point. You don't get charged. If you select products that are chargeable, then that's different. But if you just want the DNS and the layer 7 protection later, it's free up to 50 seats, which is 50 people, 50 devices, whatever you want to call it. I haven't had any issues, but I understand if you guys see that and it deters you away from the setup. But essentially, once we're in here, this is where all of your configurations are going to take place. So go over to Gateway. Everything that we'll be doing will be under the Gateway policies here. So the first thing we're going to do is go to DNS locations, and we're going to add a location. So in order for you to get logs, it needs your source IP, so it knows that those are your logs that are coming in. So it'll capture your IP directly. So I'll just go home. We'll do IP. We'll just turn these all on. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, and then we'll set this as our default DNS location. And then, I'm only going to be protecting IPv4. I've only do IPv4, but if you do IPv6, I don't have an IPv6 address or anything like that. So if you have an IPv6, obviously turn it on here. They really just need the IPv4 if you have an IPv4. So no worries there. Just click on continue. Take a note of the 2 DNS points. So you'll have these records. These are the DNS resolvers that you'll be using moving forward. And then it'll have your source IP down here. So I did have to go over. So I guess there is some security in place for Cloudflare. So when I went to type in, once they found my IP address, obviously I'm already have my personal account set up. So it won't let you overlap public IP addresses. So it gave me an error. So I just went over to my personal account to show you kind of what that setup looks like. So once you're done with the DNS locations here, you'll see this in your DNS locations. If you have more than one DNS location, you can add multiple here. Do note that if your IP address does change, which most personal IP addresses do change, there is no like connector that automatically updates your IP address within Cloudflare, which kind of sucks. But you can come back in here and just add a location, and then you just have to give it a like home new, and then come in here and you'll just set that as default. You'll come in here, you'll continue all the way like this, and then go back to DNS locations. And now that your new home is default, you can delete this one. It's essentially how you have to do it, which kind of sucks. Which it doesn't make any sense to me because you should just be able to use like their APIs, or so it should just be easier. You shouldn't have to delete, create new. That's one downside to the DNS piece. But it's still a good product. It's just annoying to have to do that. So now you have this, and you click on this, and you can see that these are your 2 DNS endpoints. So those are the DNS entries that you would put into your router or your firewall to then be resolved within Cloudflare. So that's where how you see those, and I'll have some information based on that. But since I can't use my IPv4, let's just pretend that it's there. And then the next step is you come over to firewall policies, and then you can create, there's 3 subsections of firewall policies. So you have DNS, network, and HTTP. So DNS is pretty straightforward. It's for any incoming DNS resolution. Network is anything that's not DNS. So you can put them in place for your clients that are using the Warp client. So then you can block certain IP addresses, network-based policies, and then HTTP are the layer 7 policies that you'll want to create if you're using the Warp client. Today, we're just going to be focusing on the DNS policy piece. So we'll come over here to DNS. Let's do, block malware is a good one. And then we can build an expression, right? So here we're going to go to here. Security categories is a good one, and you'll go in, and then you can select which ones you care about. So good ones, malware, phishing, crypto mining, command and control, botnet, anonymizers, private IP address. So you don't want to go anywhere that's going to resolve a private IP address, spam, spyware. I mean, all of those are good. You can do an and then there's content categories. These are the 2 that I recommend, and I just do automatically. So content categories is in, and then you can come over here and do adult themes. So, you got the big ones like pornography and adult themes like that. If you want to do anything with cryptocurrency, right? I just want to block anything going out to Coinbase or anything like that. You can do that. And if you're anti-education, you can block those things. Anything you don't want your children going to, gambling sites, I don't know, internet communication chats, all those. You don't want them to go to chat blogs and stuff like that. I don't want them to go to weapons, so anything like that. Drugs, hacking, extremism, right? We don't want to do that. I always do newly seen domains, so I'm just going to do any security risks. So newly seen domains, park domains, anything that's like that. Social networks, why not? Let's block those. And that seems like that's a good list. That's a good list right there. So now that we have this, actually, I'm just going to say security threats. It's not really blocking malware only. So now we have a rule base that we're going to, anything that falls under these categories are going to be then what? We want to block these, right? So go ahead and hit block, and you don't really have to, you don't have to turn these in or turn these on. Basically, you can just leave it default if you want. You can come in here and like do a different block page, or if it resolves by a different IP address, then you can take action on that. But really, for most people, this is good enough. So we'll just create that policy like that. Another policy that I do like to create is a GeoBlock. So any traffic for resolved country IP. So actually, I'm just going to do content, same thing. So it's just going to be a content resolution. So it'll resolve to any IP. So any content IP that it resolves to is in, there we go, is or in. So we can do Africa, Asia, Antarctica, things that you don't like. I know I shouldn't go into any of these countries. Europe and North America are probably safe bets. You can get granular if you want to do country specific. So you can come down here and do resolve country IP address in, and then it'll have all the countries that you want to block. So you can just do single countries here. I don't want to go to Papua New Guinea, whatever. Should all be covered under the continent blocking, but here you go. So I always do geo blocking. I don't want things to go out to Asia, for example. There's a lot of malware out in Asia, Russia, those types of countries over there. That continent is usually not always great, so we're going to go ahead and block that and create that policy. So that's essentially the Cloudflare setup. I'm just bumping my mic over here. Once you have those Cloudflare content and security policies created, then you can go ahead and add that DNS record to your router, and then you are then protected. Everything will start going out to your Cloudflare to be resolved, and then it'll be blocked by your policies coming through. So again, if we just want to take a note of these IP addresses, I'm just going to copy them over to a notepad, and then I can add them when I need to add them over to my router. So I'm going to show two separate use cases. I'm going to do it on my firewall, which is a PfSense firewall, as well as just your run-of-the-mill NetGear router. So let's start with the NetGear router, as this is more similar to how most homes are set up. They just have a commercial router that they bought, or home use router that they bought at Walmart or off of Best Buy or wherever they bought their home router. So let's just go on over to that. We're over on my Ubuntu laptop, which is plugged into a NetGear NightHawk router. So this is going to be similar to your home-based routers that you're using at home, versus most families aren't using firewalls at their house or anything like that. So it's going to be similar to the setup. So you'll want to go over to where your network settings are for your internet, right? So go on to the internet, and you'll see most likely that you're getting your IP address dynamically from your ISP, and you're getting your DNS directly from your ISP as well. So you just want to change that to manual. So if there's a manual option, or in this case, use these DNS servers, then you'll want to change that and come over here and then enter those IP addresses that we grabbed from Cloudflare. So let's just enter those. Okay, so once that's all done, you'll see that you're now using these DNS settings for your router. And the nice thing about this is that because most of your devices are going to be on DHCP, and the basic setup is to point your DNS for all your devices to the router, and then the router will then send out to get those DNS requests. So you don't have to update every single device on your network. It's just easier. It's real nice when you're using DHCP. So now we can test that malware site that we used before. So let's go to one of those sites, Microsoft Analyze.com. And this is the default Cloudflare block page. So that's what it's going to look like once you have that set up. So now we know that that is being blocked. Okay, so once you're on your PfSense dashboard, you come over to System and then General Setup, and then under DNS settings here, you'll have whatever DNS you have set up here, and then you can just either add a DNS record there or change it built in here, come down, save. That's all there is to it. So that's how you can set up your account within Cloudflare and then set up your DNS policies for your home environment or any remote environments that you need. We went through the basic setups, firewall rules, and then how to configure it within a NetGear router or your PfSense firewall. And it's relatively easy. Again, the only downside is that you do need to put in a payment method. Even though it's for free, they do have to have something on record. So con is that again, and you can't mix, so you can't have additional. You can only have one account per IP address that we saw. Unfortunately, in my test environment, is that I had a different IP address. But overall, the Cloudflare DNS resolver is a very good DNS resolver for security once you configure the content security policies within the dashboard. So if you like the content, please like, subscribe if you're running DNS or you're running Cloudflare DNS in your home, or if you're running a different cloud or a different DNS resolver within your home network. Please leave it down in the comments which one you think is the best and the most secure. Let's talk about it, and I will see you guys in the next video where we go over how to set up Cloudflare Warp, which gives you additional security measures for your devices using both the networking piece of the firewall as well as that layer 7 HTTP inspection and decryption blocking as well as that. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and I appreciate you guys stopping in.